A man stands outside the Facebook headquarters in Menlo Park, California. In his hand, a rejection letter. Facebook reviewed his application and decided he wasn't a good fit. Not qualified enough. Not what they were looking for. He folds the letter, walks away, and something inside him shifts. 5 years later, he returns to that exact same building. But this time, he's not applying for a job. He's signing a contract. $19 billion. Facebook isn't rejecting him anymore. They're begging him to say yes. His name is Jan Koum, and the app he built is called WhatsApp. But here's what makes this story cut so deep: Jan didn't just get rejected by Facebook. He grew up standing in different kinds of lines. Lines for food stamps. Lines for government assistance. Lines that remind you that you're starting from zero while everyone else seems miles ahead. And yet, somehow, from that 0 point, he built something so valuable that the very company that turned him away had to write the biggest check in tech history just to own it. So let me ask you something, and I want you to really sit with this question. What if the rejection you're nursing right now, the one that still stings when you think about it, the one that made you question whether you're good enough, what if that's not the end of your story? What if it's the beginning of something they'll later beg to be part of? Because that's what we're going to unpack over the next 40 minutes. Not just Jan's story, but the blueprint hidden inside it. The psychology of why rejection redirects rather than destroys. The mindset shift that turns a no from a verdict into fuel. And most importantly, the practical framework for how you take your own rejections and build something so undeniable that approval becomes irrelevant. This isn't a fairy tale. This is a pattern. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's start where Jan started. Ground zero. Jan Koum was born in a small village outside of Kiev, Ukraine. His family lived in conditions most of us watching this can't fully imagine. No hot water. Constant uncertainty. His father was a construction worker. His mother stayed home. They had very little, but what they did have was a vision of something better, somewhere else. And that somewhere was America. In 1992, when Jan was 16, he and his mother immigrated to Mountain View, California, with help from a government assistance program. His father planned to join them later, but he never made it. Jan and his mother were on their own. And Mountain View wasn't the promised land they'd imagined. It was survival mode. They moved into a small 2-bedroom apartment, government-assisted housing. Jan's mother took a job as a babysitter. She swept floors. She cleaned homes. They stood in line at the welfare office to collect food stamps. And Jan, a teenager in a new country, worked as a cleaner at a grocery store, mopping floors and stocking shelves. Now, I want you to feel the weight of that for a second. You're 16. You don't speak the language fluently. You watch your mother, who used to have dignity in her work back home, now scrubbing other people's floors just to keep the lights on. You're invisible. You're behind. Everyone around you seems to have a head start, connections, opportunities, while you're just trying to figure out how to eat this week. That's not just poverty. That's the psychological weight of feeling like you're starting a race everyone else began years ago. But here's what Jan did with that. He taught himself computer programming. No formal classes. No expensive boot camps. He got his hands on manuals, old computers, whatever he could find. He was obsessed. Not because he loved coding as some romantic passion, but because he saw it as a way out. A skill that didn't require a pedigree or a network. Just competence. And it worked. By his late teens and early 20s, Jan landed jobs in the tech industry. He worked at Yahoo as an infrastructure engineer. He was good at it. Really good. For nearly a decade, he learned the systems, the architecture, the inner workings of how the internet scaled. He saved money. He built a reputation. But then Yahoo started declining. The company that had once been the giant of the internet was losing ground, bleeding talent, and Jan could see the writing on the wall. By 2007, he left. And for the first time in years, he had space to think. What now? That's when he applied to Facebook. Facebook in 2009 was the place to be. It was the rocket ship. The hottest company in Silicon Valley. Everyone wanted in. Jan saw it as the logical next step. Take everything he'd learned at Yahoo, bring it to the new giant, be part of something massive. He applied. He went through the process. He waited. And then the rejection came. We've decided to move forward with other candidates. Now, for most people, that rejection would sting, sure. But you'd move on. You'd apply somewhere else. But for Jan, this wasn't just a job rejection. This was the rejection of a kid who'd spent his whole life trying to prove he belonged. The immigrant who swept floors, who stood in the welfare line, who taught himself to code just to escape invisibility. And now, the biggest tech company in the world was telling him, not good enough. How many of you are carrying a rejection like that right now? Not just a no, but a no from the place you thought would validate everything you'd worked for? The job that would have proved you made it. The investor who would have meant you were legit. The client who would have been the turning point. And when that no comes, it doesn't just close a door. It whispers something darker. Maybe you're not who you thought you were. Maybe you peaked. Maybe you missed your shot. Jan could have internalized that. He could have spent years applying to other companies, hoping someone would finally say yes. But instead, something different happened. He started asking a different question. Not, why wasn't I good enough for them? But, what if I stopped trying to get picked and build something myself? And that question changed everything. See, here's what most of us get backwards about rejection. We think rejection is the universe telling us we're not ready, not qualified, not enough. But what if rejection is actually the universe saying, you're not supposed to work for them? You're supposed to build something they'll eventually need. Let me explain the psychology here, because this is where the shift happens. Our brains are wired to interpret rejection as danger. Evolutionary psychology tells us that for our ancestors, being rejected by the tribe meant death. Exile was fatal. So when we get rejected today, even by a job or an investor, our brain treats it like a survival threat. The shame, the spiral, the self-doubt, that's not weakness. That's biology. But here's the reframe: rejection in the modern world isn't exile. It's data. It's a mismatch signal. Facebook needed employees who would fit into their existing structure, execute their vision, build their product. Jan needed autonomy. He needed to build his own thing, solve problems his way, create something from his perspective. Those two needs didn't align. That's not a verdict on his worth. That's a misalignment of purpose. Facebook rejected Jan the employee. But they had no idea they were creating Jan the founder. Let me give you a relatable example. Sarah, a composite of several people I've studied, worked in marketing for years. She was talented, driven, creative. She applied to her dream agency, the one everyone in her field wanted to work for. She made it to the final round. And then they picked someone else. She was devastated. For months, she couldn't shake it. Every time she saw that agency's work, it stung. She felt like she'd missed her one shot. But she still needed to pay rent. So she started freelancing. Just small projects, nothing glamorous. But because she had no safety net, she had to be good. She had to deliver. And slowly, her clients started referring her. She raised her rates. She built a system. Within a year, she wasn't freelancing anymore. She was running an agency. 3 years after that rejection, the agency that had passed on her reached out. They wanted to partner with her. They wanted her expertise. And Sarah, sitting in her own office with her own team, realized something profound: that rejection didn't stop her story. It just redirected her to a bigger one. They didn't reject her. They rejected the version of her that would have stayed small, working for someone else's vision. And that's exactly what happened to Jan. Jan had a friend, Brian Acton. Brian had also worked at Yahoo. And guess what? Brian had also applied to Facebook in 2009. Also rejected. They even joked about it on Twitter. Brian literally tweeted, "Facebook turned me down." It was a great opportunity to connect with some fantastic people. Looking forward to life's next adventure. Life's next adventure. What if he'd known that adventure would be worth $19 billion? Jan and Brian started talking. They both saw the same problem. Messaging was broken. If you wanted to text someone internationally, the phone companies charged outrageous fees. SMS was expensive. Calls were expensive. And for people like Jan, who had family in Ukraine, staying connected meant paying a price most people took for granted. What if there was an app that let you message anyone, anywhere, as long as you had internet? No fees. No gimmicks. Just simple, reliable messaging. That was the seed of WhatsApp. Now here's where I need you to pay attention, because this is the part that separates the people who stay stuck after rejection from the people who build empires. Jan didn't have a safety net. He wasn't wealthy. He didn't have venture capital knocking down his door. He had savings from his Yahoo days, but that was it. No fancy office. No PR team. No pressure to disrupt the industry. Just him, Brian, and a problem they wanted to solve. And here's the unreasonable advantage that most people miss: starting from zero means you have nothing to protect. No reputation to uphold. No investors to please. No board to answer to. Just the freedom to build exactly what needs to exist. Let me tell you about David. David was 50 years old when he lost his corporate job. 25 years at the same company, and they restructured him out. He applied everywhere. But at 50, with gray hair and no recent startup experience, nobody would hire him. Age discrimination is real, and David felt it in every rejection email. He was at zero. Savings dwindling. Confidence shattered. But he had one thing: he knew his industry inside and out. So he started consulting. Not because he wanted to be an entrepreneur. Because he had no other choice. He taught companies the systems he'd built over 25 years. He solved problems they didn't even know they had. And because he wasn't trying to impress anyone, he just did good work. Word spread. Clients referred him. Within 2 years, David was making 3 times his old salary and working half the hours. The rejection he thought ended his career actually freed him to build something better. Some of you watching this are at zero right now. You think that's your disadvantage. You think you're behind, you're too old, you're too young, you don't have the connections. But what if zero is actually your edge? What if having nothing to lose means having everything to build? Jan understood this. He and Brian rented a small office. They started coding. And they made a decision that would define everything: no ads, no games, no distractions. WhatsApp would do one thing, and do it so well that people couldn't live without it. Reliable messaging. That's it. While other apps were trying to be social networks, game platforms, media hubs, WhatsApp stayed focused. And that focus became their moat. But here's the trap most builders fall into, and I need to call this out because it's killing more dreams than rejection ever will. Most people build for applause, not for solutions. They build to impress investors, to go viral, to get tech blog coverage, to prove to everyone who doubted them that they were right. And because they're building for validation instead of value, they create things nobody actually needs. Jan didn't build WhatsApp to impress Silicon Valley. He built it because his mom couldn't afford to call family in Ukraine. He built it because international communication was broken, and he felt that pain personally. When you build to solve a real problem for real people, the market notices. Not because you're shouting about it. Because people need it. Let me give you another example. Mike, a software developer, tried to build 3 different startups in 5 years. All of them were trendy. All of them had buzzwords. AI powered this. Blockchain enabled that. And all of them failed. Because Mike was building what he thought would get funded, not what people actually needed. Then his dad, a plumber, complained to him about how hard it was to manage invoices, schedules, and payments. The accounting software out there was either too complex or too expensive for small trade businesses. Mike, exhausted and broke, figured he'd build something simple for his dad. Just basic accounting for plumbers. No frills. No hype. He wasn't even going to market it. But his dad showed it to other plumbers. They wanted it. Mike charged a small monthly fee. Word spread in the trades community. Electricians wanted it. HVAC technicians wanted it. 2 years later, Mike sold that boring accounting software for $8 million. Because markets reward solutions, not sophistication. Jan and Brian understood this. They didn't care about being cool. They cared about being useful. And here's the common mistake I see everywhere. People think they need permission, pedigree, or perfection before they start. Jan didn't have venture capital at the beginning. He didn't have a fancy launch party. He didn't have tech journalists writing about him. He just had a working product that did one thing incredibly well. WhatsApp's first version was buggy. It crashed sometimes. But it worked well enough that people who tried it told their friends. And those friends told their friends. The growth was quiet. Steady. Organic. No paid ads. No growth hacks. Just word of mouth, because the product solved a problem people actually had. This is the part nobody shows you on social media. The long, quiet middle. The months and years where you're building and nobody's watching. Where there's no applause, no validation, no viral moment. Just you, your belief that this matters, and the work. Most people quit here. Because the silence feels like failure. But Jan kept building. For the first year, WhatsApp had minimal traction. A few thousand users. Nothing explosive. Jan and Brian kept iterating. They listened to feedback. They fixed bugs. They added features slowly, carefully. And then something started happening. Users in other countries began downloading it. People who needed cheap international messaging. Immigrants, like Jan had been, who wanted to stay connected with family back home. Students studying abroad. Travelers. The app started spreading in markets most Silicon Valley companies weren't even paying attention to. India, Brazil, Mexico, Spain. WhatsApp wasn't going viral in San Francisco. It was becoming essential in places where SMS fees were crushing and international calls were a luxury. By 2011, WhatsApp hit the top 20 in the App Store. By 2013, they had 200 million active users. And Jan and Brian had done it with a team of just 30 people. No ads. No data selling. Just $1 a year subscription after the first year free. That was the business model. Simple. Honest. Transparent. And the tech giants started circling. Google wanted to buy WhatsApp. Facebook wanted to buy WhatsApp. Everyone suddenly saw what Jan and Brian had built. And here's where the irony gets poetic. Facebook, the company that had rejected Jan 5 years earlier, now needed what he created. Not wanted. Needed. Because WhatsApp had something Facebook couldn't build on its own: trust. Simplicity. A user base that was fiercely loyal because the app respected them. No ads meant no creepy tracking. No data mining. Just communication. Mark Zuckerberg flew to Jan's house to talk acquisition. This wasn't a casual offer. This was Facebook recognizing that WhatsApp was the future of messaging, and they couldn't afford to let it go to a competitor. The negotiation went back and forth. And this time, Jan held all the leverage. He wasn't asking for a job. He wasn't hoping they'd say yes. He was deciding whether their offer was worth what he'd built. In February 2014, the deal closed. $19 billion. $16 billion in cash and stock, plus $3 billion in restricted stock units for Jan and Brian. At the time, it was the largest tech acquisition in history. And here's the part that makes this story transcend business and become something else entirely. Jan insisted on signing the deal at a specific location. Not Facebook's headquarters. Not some fancy law office. He wanted to sign it on the doorstep of the welfare office in Mountain View, where he and his mother had once stood in line to collect food stamps. Let that image settle in your mind. The same building where a teenage immigrant stood, invisible and struggling, is where a 40-something founder signed the biggest check in tech history. Not as revenge. As redemption. Not to say, "I told you so." Just to acknowledge, quietly, how far the road had taken him. Now, some of you might be thinking, okay, great story. Inspiring. But I'm not a tech genius. I'm not building an app. How does this apply to me? And that's the exact question we need to address, because if you leave this video thinking Jan's story is just about tech or luck or being in the right place at the right time, you've missed the entire point. This isn't about apps. This is about a fundamental shift in how you see rejection and what you do with it. So let me give you the framework. The actual, step-by-step process for turning your rejections into redirection. Step 1. Extract the data, not the drama. When you get rejected, your brain wants to spiral. It wants to make it mean something about your worth, your future, your value. But that's the drama. That's the evolutionary fear response. The data is different. The data is, what was the mismatch here? Not, what's wrong with me? Jan's data wasn't, I'm not good enough for Facebook. It was, Facebook needs employees who fit their existing structure. I need autonomy to build something my way. That's a mismatch. Sarah's data wasn't, I'm not talented enough for that agency. It was, they needed someone who fit their culture and their process. I need the freedom to build my own systems. Your data might be, they needed someone with a traditional background. I have a non-traditional path that brings different value. Or, they needed someone available to start immediately. I needed time to transition properly. Or, they needed someone who would follow their playbook. I need to create my own. Take your most recent rejection. Write it down. Now, list 3 possible mismatches that have nothing to do with your inherent worth. 3 structural, timing, or vision-based reasons why it wasn't aligned. That's extracting the data. Step 2. Identify the problem you're uniquely positioned to solve. Jan's unique position came from his experience. He was an immigrant who understood the pain of expensive international communication. He'd lived it. He'd watched his mother struggle with it. That wasn't a disadvantage. That was his edge. Your unique position comes from your pain points, your background, the perspectives you have that the insiders don't. David's unique position was 25 years of corporate experience that younger consultants didn't have. Mike's unique position was being close to the trades industry through his dad. What problem do you complain about that you're actually qualified to solve? What pain have you experienced that gives you insight most people don't have? That's your positioning. Step 3. Build the minimum viable proof. Don't wait for perfection. Don't wait for funding. Don't wait for permission. WhatsApp version 1 was buggy. But it worked. It proved the concept. It got one person to find it valuable, then 10, then 100, then 1,000. You don't need to launch with $1 billion product. You need to launch with proof that your solution works for one person. If you're building a service, get one client. Do exceptional work. Ask for a referral. If you're building a product, get one user. Make their experience great. Learn what they need next. If you're creating content, help one person solve one problem. Then do it again. The minimum viable proof isn't about scale. It's about validating that you're solving a real problem. What's the smallest version of your idea you could test this week? Not this year. This week. That's your starting point. Now let's make this even more practical. Let's talk about specific scenarios, because some of you just got rejected from a job. Some of you got passed over by an investor. Some of you feel like you're just too far behind to catch up. If you were just rejected from a job, here's the reframe. That role would have capped your ceiling. You would have been building someone else's dream, making them wealthy, constrained by their systems. Now here's the action. What could you build using the exact skills they said you had, but independently? If you're a marketer, could you freelance? Could you consult? Could you build content that teaches what you know? If you're a developer, could you build a small tool that solves a problem you've experienced? If you're a designer, could you offer your services directly to small businesses who can't afford agencies? You don't need their job. You need your own engine. If you were rejected by an investor or a client, reframe, they didn't see the vision yet. Which means you need to build the proof they can't deny. Action, get one small win. Then another. Let results do the talking. Stop pitching. Start building. When you have undeniable traction, they'll come to you. Or better yet, you won't need them anymore. If you feel behind, too old, too young, or just not enough. Reframe, Jan was 33 when he started WhatsApp. After decades of struggle. After rejection. After watching everyone else seem to succeed faster. Your timeline is not their timeline. Action, start now with what you have. Not with what you wish you had. With what's in your hands today. One skill. One connection. One insight. 1 hour. That's enough to take the first step. Pause this video for 10 seconds. I'm serious. Think of one rejection you're carrying right now. One no that still stings. Now ask yourself, what if that no was protecting me from playing small? What if it was clearing the path for me to build something bigger? Sit with that question. Let me paint you a picture of what becomes possible when you make this shift. 2 years from now, you've built something. Maybe it's a business. Maybe it's a body of work. Maybe it's a service that people can't live without. Maybe it's a skill you've mastered that the market rewards. The people who rejected you aren't villains in your story. They're not even characters anymore. They're footnotes. Barely remembered. Because you're not thinking about them. You're thinking about your next move, your next client, your next milestone. You're not bitter. You're grateful. Because that closed door forced you to find your own entrance. And the entrance you found led somewhere better than you imagined. You don't need to prove anything anymore. The work speaks. The results speak. You built something undeniable, and now the only approval you need is the market's. And the market doesn't care about your resume or your pedigree. It cares about whether you solve problems. And you do. This isn't fantasy. This is the pattern. This is what happens when you stop waiting to be chosen and start building what can't be ignored. You become unrejectable. Not because you're perfect. Because rejection becomes irrelevant. Here's the final reframe, and this is the one I want you to take with you. Jan Koum's story isn't about revenge on Facebook. It's not about proving the haters wrong or showing the doubters they were blind. It's about what becomes possible when you stop asking, why wasn't I good enough, and start asking, what am I going to build now? Facebook didn't reject Jan because he lacked talent. They rejected him because his destiny wasn't to be employee number whatever. His destiny was to build something Facebook would eventually need to buy for $19 billion. Your rejections aren't scars. They're redirections. Every no you've received, every door that closed, every opportunity that passed you by, those weren't punishments. They were course corrections. Because the path you thought you needed to take would have kept you small. The rejection pushed you off that path and onto one where you have to build your own. And building your own is scarier. It's lonelier. There's no blueprint, no safety net, no guarantee. But it's also where the biggest wins happen. Jan stood outside Facebook with a rejection letter and a choice. Internalize it as failure, or use it as fuel. He chose fuel. 5 years later, he stood in the same building, signing a $19 billion deal. Same person. Different question. The rejection didn't write the ending of his story. It just ended their chapter. He wrote a whole new book. And here's what I need you to hear, they don't get to write the ending of your story either. The job that didn't hire you. The investor who passed. The client who chose someone else. The person who didn't see your value. They don't get the final word. You do. And the final word isn't spoken. It's built. So here's my question for you, and I want you to answer it honestly, even if just to yourself. What are you going to build because they said no? Not in spite of the rejection. Because of it. What problem are you going to solve? What value are you going to create? What path are you going to walk that doesn't need their permission? Because that's where your $19 billion moment is hiding. Not in getting picked. In building something so good that picking becomes irrelevant. Jan Koum stood in line for food stamps. He got rejected by Facebook. And then he built WhatsApp. Your rejection isn't your ending. It's your redirection. Now go build something they'll wish they'd believed in sooner. If this story shifted something in you, if it made you see your own rejections differently, stay for the next one. Because there are more builders like January. More people who turned their nose into billion-dollar yes. More proof that your current chapter isn't your final one. Subscribe so you don't miss them. And remember, the best response to rejection isn't bitterness. It's building. See you in the next one.